Hello, good morning. It is the last day of April, April 30th. I am here this morning to do some lettering with you, and I will take your requests. If we get any requests today, I will letter whatever it is you're requesting. So, one word, I'm thinking that we're going to do like some different types of lettering styles so I can show you some differences in ways that you can practice and take your lettering skills to the next level by practicing some different styles, practicing movement and calligraphy and block letters and all kinds of fun things. So, let's see. I was here on Monday and did an impromptu lettering verse with you. And I showed you my sketchbook that I found the other day. And in it was this fun exercise that I practiced where I incorporated some representative style lettering. So let me show you a little bit what I am talking about. Here is my sketchbook that I'm looking at right now. So I'll pull over my second camera and show you a little bit closer up. Move all my pins out of the way too. When you jump on, say hello. Let me know that you're here and that you're watching, or if you're watching the replay. I love the replay crew. I'm always a replay person. So say hello too if you're catching this later on. And okay, so I showed you this the other day, but I wanted to show it again because I thought it would be so fun to do some of this lettering and just kind of have a chill lettering day. We're not doing a project, but I want to show you some different things that you could also practice. Good morning, Marisa. So this was an exercise that I did back in 2014 when I was first learning, and I was wanting to do this scripture verse. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And so I wrote out the words that were like that I would think of with house and with this verse. And so I had written out welcoming, warm, giving, love, family, God, house, picket fence, service, the southern, like these were some of the like brainstormy words that I came up with, just thinking about what this verse kind of made me think of. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Melissa. Good to see y'all this morning. So we have a script. We have a sans serif, and I know that I always use those like kind of technical words with you to describe this, but this is just straight print type lettering without any kind of serifs, those little feet on there. Like this is a serif down here where it's got that more Times New Roman-ish type look to it. And then this one, I called it fancy serif. It is do you see how the little serifs on the ends there are divided? So it's, it goes both ways. That is called bifurcated. That's another like technical word. So again, that's just a term that you could think of that describes a style, right? So good morning, Nina. And then here we have like an embellished script, and this is lettering. This is not calligraphy. Okay. This was all done in pencil too, by the way. So this one, I gave it some little curls on the ends and curved it. And then this one I put representative. So I know this was some sort of exercise that I either saw, learned about. I would not have normally used that word representative, but I was like, okay, what would be a representative way to letter the word house. And so I thought, well, what about like a blueprint? And so this is kind of got the lines in there and some arrows and things to kind of make it look maybe like a blueprint. I don't know. But that was an exercise. And so it's just really fun to take a word, and I want you to think of a word that you would want me to letter and put it in the comments. And it could be anything, but I'm thinking like 1-word, 2-word phrases right now that we could practice in different ways. Oh, and I forgot to point this one out too. This one was in a shape, and I love to do lettering in shapes. So this one I sketched in the outline of a house, just like your kindergarten, what a house looks like. And then I did the lettering to fit inside the shape. So many different things that we can play around with and do. And the lettering style that I landed on for that verse was putting it in the shape of a house for that. So that was kind of fun. So today I was kind of inspired. The other night we were doing a family Bible study, and it is something that we were trying to do about once a week, sit down with the kids. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Ray Vanderlaan. He is a Bible teacher, and I was introduced to him a long time ago with some videos during church, but he would go to the Holy Lands, go to the Middle East, and teach the Bible from the place where it happened. And those videos are amazing. But he also has a discipleship like study that he's done. And so we are doing that as a family. It's real nice because the videos are like 10 to 15 minutes. So not too long to lose the kids' concentration. And the other night I was taking notes from that. We were talking about the word when God was talking about creating the earth and how the earth was formless and void. And he said that those words in the Bible are tohu vavohu. And so he was going through what the meaning of those words are: formless, empty, but also like conflict and disharmony and all that. And so I was taking notes on that. And then he got to the part with shalom, that God is shalom. Jesus is shalom, which is peace, harmony, order, function, wholeness, meaning, completeness. And I just love that. I love the word shalom. Especially after having gone to Israel, they always will say shalom, shalom. So I hand lettered that in pencil the other night, just sitting on the couch. And that was so fun, just to sit and doodle a word. So do you ever doodle a word like that? Or do you sit in Bible study or in church or even on a phone call with someone and you doodle while you're talking? So that's kind of what we're going to do today. We're just going to doodle together. So I love it. I see armor of God. I see treasure, neighbor, awesome, friend. Those are great suggestions. So I've got a pencil and an eraser. I've got my ruler. And then I also grabbed, of course, I've got the Tombow. And then I have some of these Pentel sign pins that are some different colors. So this is my church bag that I take in my purse with me to church. Typically don't use a lot of color, during my sermon notes, but I have my correction tape here for when I make mistakes. I have these other Tombows that are the like fluorescent colors. So I have and I use that more as like a highlighter. I have the bright pink too. Just a bunch of markers and things that I have thrown in here. So I thought I would pull some of these out and try out some different things with you this morning. So, all right. Grab a couple colors to start with so y'all can see the differences. Okay. All right, let's start with pencil first, right? And I'm going to start with a one word. So how about treasure? All right. So pencil is your friend. And even in the age of the iPad and all of the digital things that we have to use, I still love a good pencil. So I'm going to come in here. And what you would do first is just draw in the basic shape of your letter. And we go through this extensively in the Faith and Lettering course, where we draw the basic bones of the letter and then we go back and we add to them. So I'm going to do the word treasure. I'm trying to think like, okay, how could we do that? Maybe embellished a little bit. I want it to, I don't know, look special or fancy. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to add in my little serifs. Can y'all see? Let me zoom it in just a little bit more. I think I can zoom back in. I zoomed it out the other day. So give it a second to adjust there with my camera. These webcams, man, sometimes they are quirky. Come on now. Hello. Wake up. So I am, hopefully I didn't just screw it up altogether. Let's see if I move my hand around, will it focus back in? I watch other live streamers on YouTube and this happens to them a lot too. So it makes me feel like at least I'm in good company, but let me try to unplug it first and then plug it back in, see if that'll help it. All right. Add it back in. Still messed up. Sorry, y'all. Hey, Roxy, we're having just a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, trying to get the camera to focus. I can't proceed, though, if it doesn't want to cooperate. Okay, Lord, please help this camera cooperate so that we can do a fun lesson today. Live streaming is, you just never know. It is very dynamic. You could have everything set up the best way that you know how, and it can all just get messed up at the last second. Let's see, what else could I do? Maybe minimize. So it's really not about me being on screen, I don't think, but I can try that. It's more the cameras work independently of each other. And it's just not, it's not wanting to focus today. Well, maybe I can add my phone in and just kind of hold my phone up. Come on, baby. Come on. Oh, look, I put my hand up like that and it did it. Okay. I don't want to do anything now. I don't want to mess it up again. Okay, we're just gonna go. I'm not gonna zoom in again. But what we do is we're going to letter that basic shape. And you can look for ways to put your letters close together. So instead of coming right down on the same level, I brought that E up just a little bit so that it could have room to have a little embellishment for the E sticking out there, a little serif. So then what you're going to do is you're going to add in a thick a thicker line here for your main shape of your letter. And then you can sketch in. So I'm going to draw my serifs to come from the tip all the way in and to meet up with that main part of the letter. So it's like bringing them in. So we're actually creating a block style, even though we're starting with the thinner print. And then you can make it thicker at the top and the bottom if you want to, or you can keep it thin, or maybe you add like a little bit of a, a curl, a curve, like a little point to that end. So basic shape first, which would be like that. And then we're just going to pull in the serif edges so that they are creating that block look. And then I do want to thicken up my thin lines just a tad. Now with an S, I always draw the top half first. So we've got that top shape, and then about halfway up at the top, I'm going to pull this down and make it a thicker line. And so my S kind of fits in a little rectangular shape there. So you do the top half first, then you pull down the next side of it for your block, and then you can finish that up. And so then you can even thicken up just slightly your thin lines. You see my pencil lines there of how that's thickened up? One of the fun things that you can do is find a font that you like on the computer and print it out, like the whole alphabet, kind of big, make it fill up the whole paper, and then trace over it and kind of look to see where those serifs might come together and those connections. You know, Roxy, I probably make it look easy because I've just done it for so long, but it certainly was not easy when I first started. So I have notebooks full of my practice, and I was practicing, I was learning when my kids were really little too. And so I would take advantage of their nap times to sit down, like, okay, from, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock is my time to practice lettering. And so I would just, every kind of spare chance that I had, I would sit down with a notebook and practice different things. And it was fun. It was that creative outlet for me. And it gave me something fun to look forward to doing when they were resting. So as you do it, it'll kind of become a little bit more normal for you to know where your thicker lines are going to go. Or if you want to add like a little more curved serif onto the ends of one instead of it being flat and, angular. And I just like to try and use up some of the blank space between the letters if I can. So that's why I brought that crossbar out just a little bit so it can come closer to the R and kind of fill in that gap. So, and pencil is really great too if you find that your hand is shaky a lot or you need to warm it up, because the shakes don't show so bad with pencil, and you can kind of just go over it a bunch of times and give it that sketchy look, and then it probably won't make you feel so bad, like, oh, my hand's so shaky. You can't really tell so much with pencil. So good morning, Heather. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. So I'm taking requests. If you have a word or a short phrase that you want me to letter, I'm going to do that in some different styles today. So, and since we're talking about treasure, I mean, I guess I could draw some jewels or something, but what I would typically do is look up like, okay, what's picture of a jewel, like type sketch of a diamond or something like that. And let's just do that. Let's just do that really fast. And then I would look at it and use that as some inspiration. So let's see, sketch of diamond. Add a little bit of treasure in there. So usually like, on Google Photos, it'll pop up right there with some pictures if you go to images. And so I'm not going to do a super detailed one since we don't have a ton of time this morning, but how about like kind of a basic jewel shape? All right. So, because what I was going to do is put some like little glimmer, little the little cross things that, they kind of look like a sparkle or whatever. So that's what I was thinking of doing, but let's see. Let's put like over here on this side. So it's straight up top and then comes down at an angle and then to the point. And then straight across. And then we've got this point that kind of goes straight down. And then look, we have a little treasure. We have a little thing. So you could add even more around there. Little dots even kind of make it look like a sparkle. All right. So there's our word treasure. So let's see. I saw Yahweh. Somebody said Yahweh. Let's do that one. I love that word. I love to draw that word. So I'm going to use a Pentel sign. I always get them mixed up. There's two kinds. There's a Pentel Touch and a Pentel Sign. So this is the Pentel Touch, and it is like a Tombow Funisuki. It's a calligraphy pen. It has a flexible tip, so we can do some calligraphy with it. So let's do a nice cursive Y like that. Yahweh is a name for God that I'm looking back to make sure I spell it correctly. Who said that? Sorry, y'all. I don't see it anymore. It's like it went away. Oh, there it is, Nina. Okay, Y-A-H. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't misspell it. Yahweh is one of the most holy names of God, so much so that in Bible times, well, maybe even now, the Jews would not write it, right? It was like too holy for them to write. Is that correct? So they would like, I feel like I don't want to get the story mixed up, but didn't the scribes like go and change clothes and wash themselves before they wrote the word Yahweh, or they would spell it without the vowels. They still do that without the vowels, but um why so Yahweh. It's hard to think and talk at the same time. So, very holy name of God. But that is modern calligraphy there. You can see how the baseline is not, so like the lowest point is the Y, and then the H even comes down. And then the A is up just a little bit. So it has a little bit of that bounciness to it. which is really fun to do. So it's almost like you would draw a line through the middle of your word and then try to keep it balanced throughout that. So let's see. Armor of God. I want to do that one. Good morning, Sonia. Um, it is not a watercolor pencil. It is just a normal pencil. It is an HB. If you've never looked at pencils, there's different softnesses and hardnesses of pencils. And so that is the HB, which would be kind of similar to maybe what you used in school. It's pretty, I think, middle ground for pencils. But any pencil will do, even a mechanical pencil. Nothing really special. So, all right, Armor of God. And for Armor of God, let's look up. I always try to look at a shield. Maybe we'll just put a shield. Shield. There's different ways to draw shields, but since I'm live with y'all, I don't want to do it. I don't want to mess up too bad. So kind of a basic shape of a shield, right? I've done one like this before. Okay, so I'm just looking at the basic shape of that. I'm not looking at all the texture and everything, but let me grab a pencil first. And we've got 3 points. So middle point, make sure you can see. Okay, middle point, and then the ends come up too. And then the edges are kind of curved, so we'll curve it down. That wasn't a great curve. Hold on, let's try that again. And we're going to try to line that up. So try to make it even. Sometimes that is my biggest struggle, is getting them even balanced. One side's usually a little bit further out or longer or something. So that's where your pencils really comes in handy. All right. So there's a shield. So let's put the word Armor of God in here. And I was going to use a pen, but I think I'd rather. Remember earlier we were talking about putting things in shapes. So this is a great one to do that with. So I'm going to put one word up at the top, and I'm going to have it fill in. And think about how many words you have too. So like my M would be my middle letter. So I know that I was making that R too big. So my M really needs to be more in the middle. And I really probably could have made that A a little bit smaller as well. But you can see how it fills up the space. And if you want to, you could even add in. So when you add in your little serifs, sometimes it just gives it adds to the space, here where I could like fill in that little space. We could even bring the R up a little bit to fill in that space on that side. So it really like takes on the shape. And then let's do the word God down here. So I'm following, I know this looks kind of weird, but I'm following the shape of the shield. And then for of, I'm just going to do that in more of a script so that I could bring out the tail and fill up that right there. So now you can see that it's just all filled in. And then you could come back and you could, add more blockiness to this if you want to, make it thicker. And if you want to use it for something, you can always take your pen, ink it in, and then erase the pencil marks. So you're not stuck with it being pencil forever. It's just your brainstorming, sketching part. So there you go. And if you don't want the serifs, like we could easily turn the word God into just plain block, um, or keep it thin, monoline. So I tend to like it to be thicker, and I kind of like it being serif too, because something about those little feet on there give it a little bit more of a. I keep going back to Times New Roman, right? Like it's not old school because obviously we still use that today, but it can look a little bit more formal. So I'm not going to get super nitpicky, but you can come in here and really spend your time cleaning it up and doing all of that. Um, so that's fun. And then too, you could even come around and make your shield a little bit more embellished on the edges, draw in a second layer to it, and then maybe even give it some filigree or, your rivets, that kind of thing. Hopefully y'all can see that. So you see just some little embellishment there, however you want to do it. So, all right, let's see. What other word can we do? I just got to finish. Hang on. Anytime in school, the teacher would be like, pencils down. It was the hardest thing ever because I just want to finish. Okay. Let's see. Mom, I love you. That's a good one. I can do that one. And then Maurice had given me a bunch of good single words too. So, all right. Mom, I love you. I like to do an M, a cursive script M. So get your little like curly Q going on up here. And one thing with these touch pens, they have, as you go over it, you can see it darkens it. So you can get a little bit of differential strokes in there. You can kind of see where you went over it, and it can see where it's a little darker where I went back over it and lighter where I didn't. Mom, I love you. So this eye, there's a bunch of different ways to do an eye, but I've been enjoying doing that eye. You could even put like a little bit of a loop there. And then love. I've written the word love so many times. All right. And then you. So you don't have to do script all the way through. You could also do a little mix. To make a word stand out, There we go, Mom. I love you. Let's see. Neighbor, awesome. Friend. Okay, let's try a different thing. So I've got these. This is one of the Tombos. That's a colored Tombow. Let's see. What else do I have? I have these twin tones too. This is Tombow, and I'll tell you that like I have a wholesale account with Tombow, so I can purchase these things at wholesale price. And so I've tried out a bunch of their tools. So they tend to be the one that I go to more so just because I'm like, oh, let me try this. Let me try this. So that's why a lot of times you'll see Tombow. They're not sponsored. I don't give money by pointing y'all towards Tombow products or anything like that. But that is why I have a lot of Tombow. And this is called a twin tone. And so it is like a felt tip on one side, thicker, and then a thin fine point on the other. It is not a calligraphy pen. So I have some of those in here, but not many. So my church purse is like a whole mix of conglomeration. If you came late, I showed you all this at the beginning. This is my little church bag that I stick in my purse to take to church for sermon notes and things like that and Bible study. And it's ended up just with like a whole mix of things in there. So let's do the word awesome. So we'll use this twin tone. And how about we do them just straight monoline. And sometimes it's fun to drop the crossbars so that it gives it a completely different look. Just makes it look really tall and lengthy. So something like that. And then we talked about this in a live recently, the colored Tombos. I don't love them. I don't think that their colors are great. That's just my personal opinion. But I'll show you what it looks like. Let's do the word friend. And this paper is just plain cardstock. You could use printer paper too. This just happened to be cardstock that I grabbed, so it's a little bit thicker, but nothing special. Sometimes I will try to look for a smoother cardstock. If it says smooth on it, then your pens and pencils will glide a little bit better on it than if it's like a rougher surface. Because sometimes paper is, like cheap printer paper, people don't really care, but you can look for like a smooth paper and it does help. So, all right, let's do the word friend. So again, this is the Tombow Fudnasuki, the red one. And I've used it. Oh, look, it's kind of starting to die on me. I've used it more for coloring in things on my sermon notes than I have for lettering. I've used it more for just adding in details and stuff like that. But I'm going to go over this a couple times to thicken it up a little and to color it in because it's getting a little dry on me. So you could bring your F all the way down, like kind of make it like a more fancy lowercase f. Play around with some different embellishments. And you see that I still am pretty much picking up my pen between each letter. So that's something I teach as well in the Faith and Lettering course. The reason why you do that, it's the opposite of what you learned in school with cursive, how you're not supposed to pick up your pen at all. With calligraphy, you do, and it helps you to slow down and to get each stroke. And so like if you're doing real formal, like copperplate calligraphy, there's reasons for that. But even with modern calligraphy, which is what I'm doing here, it's not real formal. It still just helps you to get your strokes and you take your time. and it's kind of a rhythm almost, like your hand starts to get used to that rhythm, that muscle memory. Okay. So that's just pretty. It's pretty. And it's kinda all about the same straightness. I brought the end down just a little bit to give it a little bit of that bounce, and then the D comes up, but it's all pretty much on the same. I'll show you the difference between that and then keeping everything on the same baseline. So, let's see. Good morning, Donna. And Nina said ministry. I like that one. Y'all keep the suggestions coming. Ministry. So let me change to another one. And you'll see that color, that red is a nice color. So those tombos come in like a set of, I think, primary colors. And then they have those fluorescent ones. These are the ones that are just too bright for me to letter with. So I'll show you what it looks like though. So ministry. Let's do it again in some script cursive, but I'm going to just keep it all in one line so you can see what I'm talking about. It's going to be hard because I'm so used to doing the bounce in the lettering that I have to really kind of concentrate, but we'll do it lowercase. Hopefully y'all can see that. It's so bright. So just focus to keep it all on the same baseline. And then obviously your Y will come down a little. So do you see the difference between this, which is straight across, everything is very straight on the same baseline, and then like what we did here, that was close, but the N and the D came down a little bit, and then here with Yahweh, how it has more movement to it. So which one do you prefer? Do you like the real straight baseline, or do you like the bounce? I'm curious which one do you like more. So that's personal preference. And whatever you're lettering, you might choose to do, something different at different times for a reason. And so that's always a good way to just keep things changed up, So let's see. Marisa says, adore him. I like that one too. Let's do, I'm going to do something just, I don't know, a little bit different with that A. And I'll do like a little curler at the top. So I'm drawing in the faux calligraphy here. Drawing in some thicker lines. And I'm trying to think, how can I make the letters move together? Where am I going to put the next word? Him. And keep in mind too, there's so many different ways to do these letters. This is not the only way. This is a style that I do a lot in my sermon notes, and I don't necessarily take the time to go over to thicken it all up, but I'll just do this style kind of quickly. And so here, let's bring the curve to my A around a little bit more, and it fills in that gap right there. And then him, we'll just do him real straight. We could go over it again too to darken it. Could thicken it up a little bit more too. Okay. And that's fun. You know what we haven't done yet is we have not done a banner, anything in a banner. Let's see, Esther Girls. Is that the name of a girls ministry? That's cool. So is that like a play on Esther, the name Esther, but Est her girls? All right, let's see. I'll use pink for that. Okay, let's see. Esther Girls. You spelled it with the capital H too. Okay, so I love the story of Esther, reading about her. EST Est her. You can always go back after to add in your flourishes. You don't have to do them all in one stroke. Just her and then girls. Let's do girls with like a lowercase script. And if you bring out the tails, then it can make it kind of all tie in like in that space where it kind of fits together. So it fills in the ends too. So, okay, there's that. Let's do something small right here in this spot right here. Let's see. Grace in a banner. That's perfect. Y'all are saying bounce mostly, I'm seeing, or both. So yes, it is. It's fun to just kind of go with the words and the design and see where it takes you. That's kind of how I usually set out. It's like I don't know where this is going to go, but it's fun to just let it take you where it's going to take you, depending on what it is you're lettering. So let's do this blue. Actually, I was going to do green, but let's do blue. All right. So it's going to have to be kind of a small little banner. Let's see how I can fit this in the space. Banners aren't banners so fun. Okay, it's running into the word friend just a little bit. Kind of make them meet. This is my favorite style banner to do, because you can really just make it fit any space. If you're doing like a curve banner that just goes like an arc, then you kind of got to like make it be balanced, and you have to make sure both sides are you got to like pay a little bit more attention. But this style where you've got the tail at the top and then the tail at the bottom, you can really make it move and do whatever you want for your space. So, all right. So I'm doing the word grace. And if you ever want to mix and match uppercase and lowercase, you can do that. That's one of the fun things with lettering, is that there are basic principles for it, but you can also break a lot of your normal handwriting rules. So that is one of the fun things, is like you don't have to do anything a certain way. Like it doesn't all have to be uppercase. It doesn't all have to be lowercase. So there's that. Manners are hard for me. I love that. Oh, I think you meant banners. I was like, do you want me to write manners are hard for me? That's so funny, Marisa. Banners, um, try this style banner. Work on that and see if you feel like it's a little bit easier because you don't have to balance it, if that makes sense. It can just move and fill the space however you've got in there. So there we go. That was fun. We've kind of filled up our paper, and I actually have a hard stop here in about 5 minutes to meet with somebody real fast. So I guess we'll call it. But did y'all like this? Would y'all like me to do more of this kind of thing? Because kind of like with the shalom here that I showed you at the beginning, it's fun, I think, to see different ways that you can letter different words. So we could even get a little bit more deep into sketching out stuff if you liked this. So let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see more of in the future. And I certainly want to take that into consideration when I plan out what I'm going to do each week. So it was so good to see you and to connect a little bit this morning. Nina, thank you for purchasing the Esther devotional. I think that you will love it. It is a really good study into that book. So, okay. Well, y'all have a wonderful Wednesday. Enjoy your day. And I will see you back next here. Actually, next week, I will not be here. I will be, I think, driving to Tennessee. So we're going up to Tennessee for my niece's graduation. Hopefully, I will have a chance. Maybe I could do some lettering on Thursday, but I'll put it in the, I'll put it on Facebook and send out an email of when hopefully I could squeeze in a little lettering session, maybe from the hotel. So anyway, appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.